Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to the India Conference at Harvard 2022. Our session for today is a fireside chat on redefining feminism through Indian cinema with the immensely talented and the one and only Bhumi Pednekar. I'm Meghna Bansal, a second-year student at Harvard Business School, and I will be co-hosting this session alongside my colleague Harkirat Bhullar, an AB candidate at Harvard College. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the India Conference at Harvard is co-hosted by graduate students of Harvard University. We have a very strong legacy of bringing together a diverse set of eminent leaders, distinguished speakers, renowned experts, and practitioners to illuminate us regarding the most crucial matters and affairs facing India today. Before starting today's session, I would like to go through some housekeeping items. Our conversation with Bhumi will go on for 45 minutes, after which we will open the floor to audience Q&A. We really value our audience engagement, and we hope that you will use the time throughout the session to post Q&A and upvote questions that you like. We respect and acknowledge the fact that there will be differences in perspectives, but we humbly request our participants to keep the comments and questions respectful and civil so that we can all learn and grow from each other's ideas. We also request you to please tag us using the hashtag ICH2022 to tweet your favorite quotes, insights, and moments from our panel. And now, without much further ado, we would like to welcome Bhumi.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Rather good morning, because I know most of you, it's very early in the morning for most of the people that have joined our session today. I want to start off by saying thank you so much. I'm extremely excited and I feel so honored to be a part of this conference. I'm also a little nervous because we are going to be speaking in front of some really, really bright minds. So I really hope that goes well. I do hope that people get inspired by all our conversation today, and together we can work towards making our society a better place to live in.
Thank you, Bhumi. And thank you so much for being with us today. We're so excited to have this intimate conversation with you. Bhumi, you are not only one of the youngest Bollywood stars, but also one of the most risk-taking actor that India has seen in recent past because of your content choices. And your characters have explored the complex facets of womanhood and its various intersections with other markers of identity, such as educational status, class, and sexuality. You have chosen to play unconventional women who are trying to negotiate a space for themselves in ways both big and small, whether it is the newly married school teacher Sandhya in Dham Laga Ke Haisha, who is judged because of her weight, or the house help Sudha in Love Stories, who is held back by the rigid boundaries of class on love, or more recently, the PT teacher Sumi in Badhai Do, who is grappling with being openly queer. We're thrilled to have this conversation with you about what makes you a creative force to be reckoned with. We would also love to speak to you about Climate Warrior, your nonprofit social advocacy group that is doing incredible work in raising awareness in India about global warming and climate change. Welcome to Harvard. So we'd love, thank you. And we would love to start the session by learning from you what it takes to play these unconventional women. While these paths add tremendous diversity to your body of work, what are some of the challenges posed in taking up these type of roles?
You know, every part that I play comes with varied set of challenges, right? Because most of the women that I've played have been very away from the person I am, you know, the person that, the family that I'm born into, or the privileges that I have as Bhumi. So I feel, for starters, just adapting to the life that they have. You know, for example, I did a film like Sonchiriya, where I played a woman born in a patriarchal setup in the 70s. You know, she is on the run with a little girl whom she's trying to save. And for her, she doesn't know a life beyond her village or her house, because she's never stepped out of that household. You know, she doesn't know that she can even look at any of her male members without a gungat. She doesn't know education. She doesn't know opportunities. And that's something, that's a life that I have read of. I'm aware of, but I've never lived. So I feel as an actor, you're actually living these characters, and it teaches you a lot, like, obviously the idea is to constantly reinvent yourself, which can be a very big challenge. And I try my level best to do that to the best of my capability with every role. So be it my first film, Dam Laga Ke Haisha, where I was battling weight issues, or until my last release, Badhai Do, where I'm playing a queer Indian girl. I feel just the social biases that every role comes with. You kind of understand how privileged you are.
Mhm.
And the idea is to empower as many people as you can through these paths. So the challenges holistically are pretty much the same. It's all about learning and unlearning.
Hmm. Absolutely. And as you're like making these unconventional choices, like everyone is afraid of doing that, and people worry about like log kya kahenge and all that, and
Yeah.
especially with an actor who's making a debut playing someone who's overweight in a movie. Tell us about like a particularly difficult moment in your own personal journey of choosing these roles or breaking barriers, like, and how do you deal with the situation?
I think there are two characters that I would definitely want to speak about. One is, again, I'm bringing Sonchiriya into our conversation, where I play Indumati Tomar, because again, I prepped for 8 months for this role. For 8 months, I decided not to take anything up because I feel that's what the character required. I was I was a girl in her late 20s who has a 14-year-old child. She is somebody who's gone through marital rape. She is somebody who has gone through rape from other family members of hers because her husband is unable to give her an heir. She is on the run with this little child who herself is a rape victim. And the ecosystem that she belongs to, sexual abuse and physical abuse towards women, is normalized,
Mhm.
right? And she has gone through it herself, but she only understands that she only kind of becomes a rebel when she sees a younger girl go through it. So for Sonchiriya, there were so many scenes. There's this one particular scene where my son, all of 14, comes and slaps me, because my family is behind me, and they finally, located where I am, and they come like in this large group with guns, and I have like this other group that we are kind of
Mhm.
crusading with. And he comes and he slaps me. And that moment, I remember after filming, it took me about 45 minutes to stop crying, because it shook my existence,
Mhm.
because there's so much that you think as somebody, as an urban girl. We all live in a bubble. We read about it, we study about it, but the reality is very different. And as an actor, I'm very fortunate to have lived this reality. So when you actually, my roles have kind of shown me the harsh truth, the harsh reality of our society, right?
Mhm.
So when you see a small girl being raped, when you see a 14-year-old boy go slap his mother, because that's how high male supremacy in our society is, you really start questioning everything. So
Mhm.
Sonchiriya was definitely very tough. It was also a very tough decision to take because, as a young actor, it was my fourth film. Everybody advised me against it.
Mm.
Even though the director was so phenomenal, and people were like, why would you want to play a mother to a 14-year-old? Why do you want to do a film that's so hard hitting? You've just done a Dam Laga Ke Haisha. I had Last Stories also that was out by then. And there was a lot of chatter, but the only thing that I felt was that if not now, then when? Like, when do you have such roles written for women? And it was a film that was dominated by male actors. There were about 80 characters in the film, 79 were men.
Mm.
78 women, and the other two were I and the girl who plays Sonchiriya. Sonchiriya had such a huge impact on me. The little girl who was cast with me, her name is Khushi. There wasn't a cell of anything maternal about me.
Mm.
I was like, we just don't have it. We are just on the go. As an independent young Indian girl, I could never think that a film would give me such a change of heart. Khushi literally is my daughter. She's like my daughter now. And there's this ashram that she belongs to. All those kids have become such a big part of my life. It's been 4 years and I'm still connected with them. Like my heart is with them. And, this is what cinema does. This is what being an actor is all about, that with every performance of yours, you've got to become more evolved as a human being. You have to become a better person. So a film like Sonchiriya or a film like Sand Kiyak, again, where Tapsi and I, we play older sharpshooters. We are in our late 60s. Again, I was advised completely against it. That why would you want to do it? Again, age yourself. You're again speaking about feminism and women empowerment, and we've had so much of it, people aren't interested. Again, I just had to block the chatter and do it. And these two films actually gave me the most number of awards in my career, apart from Dam Laga Ke Haisha. I won my first Filmfare for the most celebrated actor for Sand Kiyak. I was nominated. I won a lot of critics awards for Sonchiriya. It was such a glorious year for me because, I kind of went by my instinct. I did what felt right. I took the path that was not very common, and it turned out to be one of the best years of my life.
And on this point about taking an offbeat path, like what advice do you have for like students and others who are overcoming failure and doubt that may be associated with taking an offbeat path? Do you have any message for them?
Absolutely. Look, the offbeat path is only offbeat till somebody walks it and finds success in it. So whatever you feel is right for you, work hard towards it. Have the courage to get out of your comfort zone, to get out of your bubble and go it's not easy. This journey would have a lot of ups, a lot of downs. There'll be times when you wake up feeling ecstatic, and there'll be nights that you will cry yourself to sleep. It's okay. It's a part and parcel of life. Till you don't taste failure, success won't mean anything. And failure is a great teacher. I have experienced it many times in life, and I've always just gotten up, geared myself up and said, you know what? It was a bad day. It was a bad phase. Let's move on. You need to just keep going, keep working hard, be honest towards what you do. And I promise you, you will figure your way out.
That's such an amazing message. And just as we talk to you, you're so unconventional, so unique in your choices. But as you grow through your career, is there anyone, in Hollywood or Bollywood and another industry who actually inspires you? I mean, you inspire us, but is anyone there who inspires you?
I think there are many, if I think of actors per se, I think what Priyanka Chopra has done globally, something, I applaud her, because she has really, especially for an Indian actor, who hopes that, my art becomes global. I feel she has really paved the path for us. Meryl Streep, I have grown up watching her films. I have spent days studying her work, and I have spent hours listening to her speak. She is so phenomenal, so phenomenal. So, I feel like as an actor, I'm so blessed to be born in the times when content is accessible so easily, because it truly helps me grow so much.
Absolutely. And talking about like Sand Kiyak and Sonchiriya, movies with like a lot of substance and great content, like you said, and which perhaps require a lot of from the actor in the whole process of making it, but they may not do as well commercially as the masala flick, in Bollywood.
Absolutely.
So how do you grapple with that choice as an actor?
I think because I tasted blood right at the start of my career, my launch, my debut was so unconventional. And people have asked me this time and again that, why did you choose Dam Laga Ke Haisha as your debut? But today, I think I'm just going to be as candid as possible and tell everyone that, as a newcomer, as somebody who's just starting off, you don't really choose your debut. I was very lucky that Dam Laga Ke Haisha happened to me. Like before my acting career, I had worked behind the camera, hoping that whatever I'm doing is going to lead me towards being in front of the camera. and then Tam Laga Ke Haisha happened. But anyways, coming back to your question, I don't want to digress.
No.
Because I saw the power of cinema, I saw what taking the unconventional path can do. I was very clear that, okay, my cinema needs to entertain my audiences for sure, but they need to be left with something more than a few laughs. I feel the medium that I service is very, very powerful. So I want to use it to its utmost capacity, not just for my growth, but also for the growth of my ecosystem. Look, my idea is very simple. I want to leave behind a legacy of films, of art that is going to outlive me, that is going to be watched by generations, that is going to be timeless and is going to inspire people through their journey ahead. And this is exactly how I choose my paths. And I don't really have a formula because I don't know what's going to work, what's not going to work, right? Because you always hope that, okay, all your films do commercially well, right? But if you think of any of the iconic films, you don't know what box office number they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are so many films that are such a big part of pop culture that have actually completely tanked business-wise. But they are so classic that, it's going to be us and the generations after us that are going to watch it, and it's just going to live on forever. And that's exactly the kind of cinema I want to do.
Absolutely. And that's amazing. And honestly, like about 20 of us last week, we went out and we saw Badhai Do in theaters here in Boston. And we were so touched by so many aspects of the movie: love and acceptance for same gender relationships, unconventional career choices, choosing not to marry till you're 30. And it really does make a difference when all these things are portrayed in mainstream Bollywood, because I think that's when the culture really spreads throughout the country, because our country does live and die by Bollywood. So it makes a huge difference for like individuals and when such movies come out. And I think it's great that, you take up these roles, even though, it can be risky for an actor to do that.
Yeah, but then what's the thrill if you can't take any risk, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you mentioned something which really struck me, which is, as an actor, you do have a huge platform to make your voice heard and in pushing for these changes. But how do you think everyday people, like me and Harkirat, can make these choices to further the cause of these movements in India?
Look, change starts within, right? It's just about changing things within your household. Okay, let me give you an example of a film that I've done, Toilet Ek Prem Katha.
Yeah.
So before we started filming, open defecation in India was reaching 54%. Recently, I think last year, the government gave out statistics, and there was actually a thank you that the government and Mr. Bill Gates Foundation, they kind of put out tweets thanking us because the film genuinely contributed towards the cause. The number had dropped down to, I think, a little under 20%, which is a huge gap in 3 years, right? That's the power of cinema, and I just feel like as individuals, I anyways feel that our generation, the generations below me, we are woke. We are a lot more aware than our elders. So I feel like it is our responsibility, because we are making a life in this society, in this system, in this ecosystem, on this planet. So it can be love for your planet, or just breaking any kind of gender bias, discrimination, supporting any kind of marginalized community. It is our responsibility. So if you go pay money for that ticket and you get something more than just, a good time, implement it in your real life. It's just small little changes. The smallest of change. Like, for example, you spoke of Badhai Do. I have so many friends and family members that belong to the LGBTQI community. After the film, it's been a week since the film released. In the last 1 week, the kind of posts, messages on Instagram, on Twitter, I've had flowers sent to my house. And it's just not from the members of the communities. It is from their allies, from their parents, from people who did not understand what the life of a queer person in India is like. It was mothers sending us messages saying that I have gone and apologized to my son because I wasn't there for him earlier. We have had people who have gotten into fights in theaters, because they have called out a homophobic individual.
Yeah.
We have had girls come up to us and tell us that, what, after watching this, I think it's time that my family faces the hard truth. This is the power of cinema. This is exactly what change is, right? And it's so beautiful that we all can experience it as a community.
Absolutely. And so what is your hope for the LGBTQI movement in India today?
Wow. So my hope is just that, we have a world that is a lot more tolerant, that is equal, that is unbiased, a world that does not discriminate because of your sexuality, your sexual preference, or whatever gender you identify with. A world that understands that just because there are people that are in a minority, that does not mean they are not normal. A world that understands that love is love. My sexuality is just a part of who I am. It is not me. When we judge somebody for their sexuality, we should actually be judging that person for who that person is. What are his morals, his ethics? What kind of a human being is he? So I really hope that we create a society that's formed of equals, honestly, because this is something that's so close to me. It is so, so personal to me. And that's the reason I did Badhai Do, because I have been a part of many of my friends' coming out stories. My family has been. I have spent nights by them, while they cried or while they laughed or while they were happy because, they finally found their peace. However it is, we need to acknowledge that it is a very lonely journey. And whatever any of us can do to make this better, we just need to be allies and supporters.
That's such a beautiful thought, Bhumi. Thank you for sharing that. So, we wanted to ask you, you are at a business school conference, so it would be amiss if we don't ask you about, what goes behind making your personal and professional brand successful. So if Bhumi was a company, like who's the CEO, who's the COO, what's the team behind, the actor?
You've got me thinking. Well, look, at the face of it, it's just me. But there is an entire team working behind this brand that we are trying to create, right? So it can be my film choices, the brands that I choose to do. It can be my PR, my social media. Everything has a singular chain, because the idea is we identify who Bhumi is. We identify what I stand for, what I want to do, what kind of career I want to have, what should my career trajectory be. And for me to kind of go through that path, there are so many people, right from my digital team, my PR team, my business head, my talent head, and then I have my family, my mom and my sister. They are equally involved in my profession. So I think my CEO would be large films put together, as one entity. And my COO would be my mom and my sister put as one entity, because I can't operate without, they're my support system. They are my support system, because there is so much that they tell me that's right or wrong. I don't have yes men in my life, which is the best thing. We are a very democratic team. We are a team that really calls each other out. We are a team of equals. And I feel that's why the way my career is progressing, or the choices that I make, or the devotion that I have from the people that are working, in our team is just unparalleled. Just imagine how beautiful is it, right? So if I have a release, I have 20 people praying every day that, we really hope this film works.
Absolutely.
It's truly a very, very overwhelming thing now that I think of it. So I'm going to take this moment to thank everybody who's a part of me. I sound a bit.
And but if I was to like put you in that position, like if you were in your own management team or your own PR team, what would be the most challenging aspect of the job for you? Like, so what's the most challenging aspect of the job for your management team, for your PR team, or your talent team, etc.?
It's managing dates. It's just managing dates. I'm such an easy person. I hope my team feels the same. But I'm a very non-controversial person. I have my professional life and I have my personal life, which is completely under wraps. I'm very disciplined. I wake up in the morning. I go to sleep. Hi, there's somebody from my team who has joined. She just realized her camera was on. Oops. Yeah. Well. So as I was saying, sorry, I lost my chain of thought.
You were
Yeah.
saying
So
dates.
date. It's crazy because I do the last 2 years have been very busy. So just managing dates with like my films, my brands, and most of my friends are getting married. So
And like, just to push a little bit more on that, like, what do you think are the most tough business decisions that you have to make as an actor? I mean, of course, there are creative decisions that we talked about in terms of the roles that you take, but what about business decisions? What do you think are the toughest ones?
I think when you choose your conscience over money, I think that always has to be the toughest. And that comes in play with an interview that somebody might want to take, and you maybe disagree with the point of view of the interviewee. I would not do it.
Yeah.
Right? It could be a brand that's come my way and they maybe have tons of money to shell, but I don't necessarily agree with their ethics. It's a tough one. I mean, eventually I know what I'm going to do, but somewhere I'm human. You get tempted. You're like, should I just sell a bit of my soul? And but then you have this brilliant team that tells you no. No. We just have to be patient. There'll be a lot more that'll come my way. And I think that's pretty much been the ethos of my career and of my professional life, that I want to lead a career full of integrity, and I will not compromise that for anything.
Yeah. And sometimes that can, be at odds with a good business decision.
Absolutely.
And that's the tough thing. Let's talk a little bit about the change in the traditional movie industry and what's happening because of like streaming and digital content. And it's not just that there's like a manifold increase in the volume of content on streaming platforms, but there's like a host of YouTubers, Instagrammers that are creating content and almost developing the same celebrity status amongst masses as Bollywood stars.
Right.
So how do you think Bollywood is adapting to this digital revolution in terms of content, the type of actors, release platforms, and so on?
I think, we were kind of prepared for it, because we are the pioneers of any kind of disruptive media, so we were prepared for it, even if there is like be it social media, be it any other aspect of it, and not just prepared for it. I think we are also welcoming it with all our heart, because by the end of it, it's one community. It has given people so many opportunities of earning revenue. You have so many stars, as you rightly said, celebrities in their own right. They have 60 million followers, way more than any of us have. They are making a lot of money at the age of like 17 and 18, and I find so much inspiration from them, because it's just not about posting one image or one video. There's a lot of work that goes behind it. Like, they are dedicated, they are driven, and at such a young age, to have such a drive and be so excited about what you do. I feel like the whole social media not outbreak, like outbreak in a good way that's happened, is only for the best. It also kind of keeps us on our toes, because we know that the competition is a lot more, while the work is also increased. Opportunities are so much more. If you see the disruptive content that's happening on OTT platforms, it is so inspiring. I've seen some of the best performances come out in the last 2 years from such wonderful shows. So I just feel like I just feel like the entertainment industry has just widened further, and there are just many more opportunities. There are also a lot more revenue earning opportunities for us as actors, because Instagram and Twitter and your social media platforms are it's business for us. So thank God for that. We are all for it. Absolutely, like it's such a boon, and especially in the lockdown, because we were not filming. And there were so many opportunities. Just the language of marketing changed in the lockdown. I literally had a mini studio at home because there were so many collaborations and brand collaborations that we were doing. I had like these 2 ring lights and a setup, and we just braved it out, and whatever we managed. But there was so much content that I put out in the lockdown. So I think it's a very, very empowering medium.
Absolutely. But like the counter to that though is, of course, it is an empowering medium and it's open to all. But do you feel like it has reduced privacy for you? And a lot of people also talk about their mental health with always being on, always having to create content with, such frequency and rigor. What do you feel about the dark side of, social media and digital platforms? And how has it affected you?
I think the dark side cannot be ignored. It definitely exists, and it can get very brutal for people, because I've had friends who've been bullied online. I have young cousins who cannot put out a picture without using a filter. It has given people a lot of self-esteem issues, image issues. There is a certain prototype of what is beautiful that has been created, and a lot of young adults are trying to fit into that prototype, and it is a tough journey. But having said that, I feel that it's such a strong medium. If people are just given the right support, if they are just given the right guidance, I feel we can really churn some positive views of the platform. I feel open conversation, therapy, education. I really feel like the flip side and the pros and the cons should be a part of our educational system, because this is the present, this is the future. It's only going to get bigger and more complicated, and we need to prep our newer generations to come and ourselves for for the barrage of information and content that's going to hit us, and we need to be well equipped to deal with it. And that can only happen when we have support groups, education, and just enough knowledge and tools to tackle it.
Yeah, I'll take over now, Bhumi. That was great. I had a quick question about the storytellers you work with. All the great films that you've been a part of, a large part of the way they worked or the way they've been written is because of the directors and writers that have backed those films, right? You worked with Harkirat who directed you in Dolly Kitty, Zoya Akhtar, who directed you in Lust Stories. And I'm curious, as someone who's actively reading stories, continuously working in the film business, do you feel that the space for these kind of storytellers who do want to be sensitive yet present complex stories, is it growing, or are there still a handful of names that I've just pointed out?
No, I think it is definitely growing, and the burst of newer platforms to say your stories has only helped. If you look at my career trajectory, most of the films that I've done come from a place of sensitivity, come from a place of responsibility, and most of the filmmakers that I have worked with think very close to the way they are closer to the evolved side of cinema. So I don't feel like the commerce or the pressure of box office, or just trying to please the audience has kind of reduced those writers or filmmakers. I feel like they've increased, and also I feel like our audience is evolving at such a fast rate that you wouldn't ever know what your audience wants. So I feel like as filmmakers and creative people, we should just say stories that we believe in, because we'll always find an audience that will appreciate it.
Right. And speaking about your films, I mean, most of the films that you've been a part of, whether it's been Dam Laga Ke Haisha that we talked about, or Pati Patni Aur Wo, or even Shubh Mangal Satan, I think are now, you can consider them a part of a new genre, right? Where these are stories that are largely focused on everyday people in tier 2, tier 3 cities, but are handled again in a very sensitive, but also a light-hearted manner. And while it is great that these stories are being told, do you ever worry that perhaps they've created maybe an overused template? Because almost every other movie nowadays is set in a similar small city landscape, with even the casting is not changing much. You know, it's the same parents, same side friend. How do you respond to this sort of lack of imagination for the stories that have set you apart in the first place?
Look, you know what happens is that cinema reflects the society. Okay, right now we have tier 2, tier 3 cities that are evolving at a rapid pace. You know, there are so many stories from within that ecosystem that need to be told. So, you know, even though maybe the common thread between the cinema that I do or any of my colleagues do, you know, which was started with our films, might be the milieu, you know, but we make sure that the characters that we portray, the dilemmas in their lives are different. You know, so I feel like we should also kind of step back and look at a story for what it is. You know, I mean, you look at Hollywood, right? You have Westerns, nobody ever questions those. You know, so why question us? I mean, this is what India is, and this is what small town India is. Different parts of, fortunately or unfortunately, you know, even though our country is so diverse, our culture is pretty much the same. So if I'm playing a girl from Rajasthan or if I'm playing a girl from Punjab, my milieu would look similar, but what I want, what my ambitions are, what my goals are, the suppression that I've lived with, or, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, I'm playing the same girl. So that's my challenge as an actor. And it is the filmmaker's challenge to make sure that his story does not feel repetitive.
Yeah, for sure. No, completely understood. Thank you for that. And then I guess just piggybacking off that, what are some of the characters that maybe you're looking forward to playing in the future? Any sort of aspirations or goals of yours? Any characters or genres maybe you haven't tried even?
Oh yeah, I think there are many, because I definitely want to do a full power action film, because I've not done that. And it's something that really, I mean, I want to see myself do that, you know, like some Matrix, Lara Croft happening with Bhumi. Or something that I really want to play is, I really want to be a part of some you know, freedom struggle story, because, you know, we've not heard a lot of women you know, lead these stories, and it just feels like, you know, women were just not a part of the freedom struggle. I'm sure there were inspiring stories. I'm sure we had contributed a lot, but we just don't see enough of it. So I'm actually searching for a story, and hopefully I will find something. And apart from that, I don't know, yeah, the film world is my oyster. You know, I feel like there's so much more that I have to explore, but I'm so fortunate because I get such varied paths. And, you know, even my year, 2022 is going to be full of, you know, characters that are completely on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, looking forward. And I guess, yeah, I mean, we're just about to end, but I think we should definitely talk about your climate movement and the fact that you're so committed to raising awareness for climate change issues. I guess first question, where did this begin? How did you end up curating this interest in climate change and sustainability? Was it a personal experience? How did you end up committing yourself to this cause?
I honestly can't think of a particular moment, but I've been somebody who's been conscious right from my childhood. You know, since I was a young adult, I started reading up on it. We'd obviously studied climate change and its adverse effects in school, but I think I was one of those that really retained it. And I was this really immature child that would, like, you know, I would have sleepless nights thinking, okay, one day our water is going to run out. Okay, guys, I was 10, okay, so don't judge me for my really immature thoughts. But, you know, I would have like sleepless nights thinking that, okay, one day our water is going to dry off. How am I going to protect my mom? How am I going to protect my dad, my sister? And my solution was that I'm going to have a go down full of mineral water. Clearly not a sustainable solution at all. Something that I just, you know, learned through the years. But I think I was always very scared. I think I also developed a bit of climate anxiety. I didn't know this existed until, you know, I met fellow climate warriors, and they felt like they were so lonely because I was made fun of. You know, people kind of were like, oh my God, there she goes again. You know, she's gonna like, oh, why are you wasting water? Or why are you littering? Or why are you using plastic, etc., etc. So it's been one hell of a long journey, you know, right from changing things within my home, within my house, to changing things professionally, to just leading a more sustainable lifestyle. And then, you know, coming up with Climate Warrior, which is my platform for climate related advocacy, doing on ground work. I feel so fulfilled, you know, to have actually, and I feel so lucky that, you know, because I'm an actor, I have people that listen to me, and I can work towards a cause that is so, so dear to me. And I'm just going to end my answer by saying that, you know, we are in a war against our own environment, against our own climate. And it is the largest looming threat that humanity has ever faced. It's time we listen to our scientists. It's time we listen to science, and we understand that we're not speaking of 5 decades from today. We're speaking of 5 years, 10 years. You know, we've lived through a pandemic. It's only getting worse. It's not like this was the last one. So if we truly love our family, and if we all truly want to do whatever we can, because that's what mankind is all about, right? It's about protecting our loved ones. Then we have to understand that we have to start working towards preserving our planet, because there is no planet B. This is all that we have, you know? Yeah.
Okay. And I guess one interesting question that we wanted to also ask is about related to climate change. How do you think mainstream Indian cinema could perhaps bring these issues out into the forefront for the Indian masses? Do you think that's a possibility?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I'm very surprised that, you know, we haven't used this yet in cinema, but I know that there are a lot of properties that have come up, you know, especially in the last 1 year. Like, even if you look at films, right? Like, we had An Inconvenient Truth, we have Don't Look Up. You know, I do know of some stuff that's also happening in the Hindi film industry. But, you know, I've said this earlier in our conversation as well, cinema is a very powerful medium. If we use it the way it's meant to be used, because I mean, look at it. You have millions of people looking at your product. You have millions of people, and you have 2.5 hours to drill a certain message in their head. You know, and they are paying for it. You know, they are paying for it. So I mean, we have to be really silly that we don't use our medium to the most of its, capability. But yeah, things are changing. I'm a very optimistic person. I've seen a lot of change within, many different film industries as well. And climate change has become the center of conversation. You know, it has become front page news. Obviously, you can't ignore it. And, with Climate Warrior and all the work that we've been doing with all my fellow climate warriors, or anybody who's a crusader in this fight against climate change, we will just keep doing our bit.
Nice. And finally, for me, last but not the least, we'd love to close by asking you one thing that you're thankful for and one thing that you regret in your journey till date.
I think I think one thing that I am very, very thankful for is definitely the opportunity that I got, of actually doing what I love. You know, it's very rare. You know, I wake up every day excited, to go kill it and have a great day. I think I'm very, very thankful that my profession is something that I'm so passionate about, because it would be a very, very tough life otherwise. I am also very thankful for all the love that I get from my friends and family. I can't imagine a life without them. And, this might sound very textbookish, but it's the truth, And something that I regret, I think I just regret all those times that I doubted myself, just like any other teenager or any other young adult, a girl who's felt suppression, who's felt like, who's been in sexist environments, or who's I've been made to feel like, I'm not great. I regret spending time, precious time, overthinking about those things. And it's something that I've really worked very hard on, and I've realized that don't let anybody dim your light. It's you're truly wasting your time. And I'm sure many of us are overthinkers. So it might be a very small thing, but it's a true waste of time. And time is precious. Time goes by like this.
Yeah. Well, that's a great note to end our conversation. And now we can move on to the questions by the audience. Meghna, you can take it over from here.
Thanks, Harkirat. And Bhumi, you ended on such a beautiful note on never letting anyone dim your light. And I think it's a great message for everyone out there. We have some really, really interesting questions that have come in from the audience. So I'll just kick it off with a few. So Jigyasa Labru is asking you, Bhumi, what are your thoughts on the pressure of living a life in the spotlight, especially as a woman, with so much focus on women's bodies? And I'd like to add here that, we're doing this conference, we have 65 speakers, about 40% of them are women. And I have seen personally that the trolling on Twitter is way more for our women panelists than our male panelists, who I think personally are equally accomplished. And so that's something that struck me as well. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on how do you deal with being in the limelight, especially as a woman, where, bullying and trolling can be a lot more than for our male counterparts.
Well, Jigyasa, is that right? Was her name Jigyasa? Jigyasa, thank you for your question. I think women in general, whether you are in the spotlight or not in the spotlight, you just deal with everyday casual sexism, trolling, pressure. If you're too tall, it's a problem. If you're too skinny, it's a problem. If your skin color is a problem. Everything, is a problem. But the way I deal with it is, for starters, I'm very fortunate to have the kind of support system that I have at home. I was bullied in school. I would come back crying. I was picked on for, my body type or the way I looked, but every time I came back home, I was made to feel very beautiful. And my parents never told me, oh, you are fair skinned and that's why you're pretty. No, they always told us that, Bhumi, you're a good human being. You've never hurt anybody. You're honest towards your job. You study well. You don't misbehave with people. You're a beautiful person. And I feel that is something that I've always retained. So even when I have trolls on social media that might be like, hey, moti, tu dam laga ke haisha jaisi lag rahi hai. I honestly, and I'm telling you, it happens. It happens to the best of us. You can be somebody who is loved for the way they look. I don't want to take names, but you can be the most beautiful woman on this planet. Like, whatever the bookish definition of beauty is, you will still be trolled. And you have to understand that these people trolling us are weak. They're cowards. And that's why they're trolling us. And that's what I do. Every time I read a comment, I was like, you know what? You're a coward. So I just block it and I move on. And obviously it's tough. I'm not strong and, it's easier said than done. I have my days where I question myself, but then, it's all about picking yourself up and moving on.
And just on that, like, we have another question, which is from Kashish Doshi. And she's asking, like, how should women speak up for themselves and make the space and stand up for their opinions, especially, when they may be in a place where they don't feel like they're being valued the way that they should be. Like, what is your one piece of advice to women to, like, speak up for themselves?
Kashish, thank you for your question. When you don't feel supported or when you don't feel like you are in a secure environment, it can be very tough. All I want to say is that you need to find the courage within yourself, because till you don't speak up, you're not going to break that shackle that you're bound by. It's all about the smaller wins. A small win for you can be a very big win for somebody else. you don't know how you're going to inspire somebody. So you have to find the courage within. You have to understand that nobody in this world can decide what your worth is. Only you can. You have to work on yourself. You have to constantly evolve. You have to constantly make sure that you're the best version of yourself, a version that makes you happy. And it can be a family member, it can be a partner, it can be a life partner, somebody at work. Remember, nobody can tell you how good or bad you are. So you just have to keep going. And there'll be so much noise. There'll be people that'll tell you, no, you can't do it. Find that courage. It's tough, but you have, because only you can do it. Nobody can push you to do it.
Absolutely. And I think it's wonderful to have like women like you speak, in forums like these, because I think even finding another woman who is able to do it gives you the courage to sort of find it within yourself. And I hope this is something that, even our audience is taking away. And so thank you so much for sharing. We have like a range of questions, which I think are all on the same theme. Nikita, Anushree, they're all asking this. They're saying that, we have seen you in a certain way. You're a brilliant actor, played unconventional roles. What are the other things that you are interested in putting your voice out on as a director, or as a writer, or what are some of the other topics that you want to create content on beyond the stuff that you've obviously done around gender spectrum, sexuality, etc.?
Oh, sorry, if I've got the question right, other topics that I want to create content on, or is it something else that I want to do in life?
No. They mean there's already a huge theme of topics that you've spoken about. Is there something else that you would like to speak about?
I think there's so much, because this world is full of so many societal biases, and I'm not a masiha for it. I'm not like the flag bearer for it, but I just feel like I would like to lend my voice whenever I can. Climate change, definitely, but I also feel like just women owning their sexuality is something that makes people so uncomfortable. So, anything around that, anything that is entrepreneurial, because, we don't usually see women in places of power. You don't even see it in cinema, so maybe themes, anything that empowers our gender. Yeah. I mean, I can't really pick.
That's fantastic. And Satvik Mishra is asking us, I absolutely love the movies you choose. In this context, what are your views on Bollywood movies, apart from, of course, the stuff that you've done, in making people think, engage, and normalize pertinent topics such as same-sex relationships in the hinterland? I think what he means is there enough being done? And if not, what more do you think Bollywood can do to talk about these things?
I don't think there's enough being done. I feel like we have just started. Obviously, in the past, we've had landmark films, but those films have never reached out to a larger audience. Look, we have to understand we are a homophobic nation. None of us can pretend that's not the case. And I have experienced it the most after filming Badhai Do and after Badhai Do's release, because we live in a liberal bubble. Right? So most times we don't understand the societal norms that exist outside of the life that we live, and I have really felt it after the release, because homosexuality makes our country uncomfortable. We feel like it is something that should not exist. We feel like it is abnormal. I have heard some leaders actually say that it has happened because women are getting stronger, so they're getting more masculine, and that has made men insecure and they're getting more feminine. That's such a debauched way of looking at it. So I feel like the education, the awareness needs to be 100-fold from where we are today. Cinema is definitely working towards it. Apart from my film, we've had some films in the past, that have tried to champion the cause. And I feel like it's only the start. We have some, We have so many queer characters that we've celebrated on, digital platforms. And just a concise answer to his question, no, we've not done enough, but is this just the start? Definitely, and we have a long way to go.
Thank you. And we have another question, and it's from an anonymous attendee, but I'm sure you've answered this question before, but I think lots of people are asking this, is what's your view on the pay scale parity across genders in Bollywood? And if I had to add something to that question, I'd say, like, when do you think, men and women will be able to demand the same pay? Like, what needs to change in Bollywood or other industries for that matter for that to happen?
The pay disparity in my fraternity is obnoxious, to say the least. I have been offered films where, my co-star was maybe as many films old, we had as many successes or misses or whatever, our work was equally loved. And yet I was being paid maybe 5 or 7% of his fee. That's how debauched it is, So what do I and my colleagues do? My colleagues and I, we kind of realize that no has a lot of power. We don't understand that this is our worth and this is my value. And at times you have to let go of films that you maybe want to do. It's okay. Because at the start of my career, I was like, you know what, I'm new, it's okay. And I did not feel, at the start of a career, you don't feel as wronged because you're so new. So you feel like everything that you're getting is maybe something that you don't deserve, which is also not a good way of looking at it, because this is our social conditioning. We feel like, if we are students or if we are young or just starting off our career, whatever is given to us is what we deserve. That's not true. There is something, you have a value, and you add value to whatever you're associated with. It's very important to know that about yourself. So I feel, when would the pay parity end? I don't know, but I know that my colleagues and I are fighting towards it. And it also comes at a cost of us losing out on money and on projects, but so be it, because this is all we can do. We need to keep speaking about it. We need to make sure that, our male counterparts and our producers understand that, yes, it is a business, and, we don't expect, and we want to be a part of the formula of math that they have, but it can't happen at the cost of us cutting down money. Like post the lockdown, post the pandemic, it felt like female actors were the only ones that could reduce the budget for a film. We are not the ones that get double or triple digits, but yet a pay cut was expected out of our fee. You can clearly see that it really angers me.
No, and I guess obviously now with like more female-centric movies where you play the lead, hopefully that changes.
Yeah. No, and having said that, I would also like to add that, just the way producers and filmmakers work, that's changing. You have some really sensitive filmmakers, you have some producers that really want to champion the cause with you, that are really trying to support you. So it's not all dark and gloomy. It's just that the number of people that are on the other that are on the same side as us are very little. But it's okay. It's gone from nothing to this much. I'm sure the number would just keep increasing.
And at the last minute, we have a really nice question from Mohit Parekh, which I think we can make as the last one. And the theme for the conference is also India 2030. So I think it's a pretty poignant question, is where do you see yourself in 20 years? Are you still acting? Are you a critic? Are you a full-time climate activist? Or are you in the parliament?
I don't know. I honestly don't have an answer to it. I definitely would be a climate activist. I definitely see myself acting, but is this the only thing that I would be doing? Definitely not. There are a lot of things that I'm very passionate about. Running my own business is one of them. So I don't know. I don't know how am I going to diversify. I don't know if I'd be producing. I don't know if I would be, if I would be an entrepreneur. I don't know. But yes, acting and being a climate activist is definitely going to be a part of it.
And on that note, we just want to thank you so much, Bhumi, for being with us today. And it's so great to have this intimate conversation with you. And congratulations on the success of your new movie. It's truly an inspiration to everyone. And we've all been raving about it here at Harvard. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, guys. This was lovely. More power to all of you. And I really appreciate you inviting me. And yeah, I hope you have a good session.
Thank you.
Over
to you, Harkirat.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Bhumi, for a terrific session. And to all the attendees, thank you so much for joining us. It's early in the morning here and late in the night, perhaps in India. So thank you so much for making the time. And you can find more information on the coming up sessions on our website. So India Conference 2022.com at the agenda. But yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.